What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, Lone Wolf 902. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to get started in bushcraft. So as you can see, I have a lot of items set up, including what I'm sitting on, what's next to me, what's above me, what's around me. We're going to be addressing some of the basic things that you need to get started in bushcrafting, because it is not as elaborate or as expensive as many people make it out to be. You do not have to have the best of the best, those name brands. You don't need to have it. Very, very simple. So we're going to go through some of the items that I have here. We're going to eliminate some of them, and we're going to end with a very basic kit that you need to have to get started in bushcraft in a general woodland area. All right, so starting things off, I'm going to move outside of the shelter and I'm going to talk about what I've got going on here. This is a 10 by 10 canvas tarp. It is a square cut, 3 meter by 3 meter, 10 by 10, like I said. This particular tarp is actually my signature edition Wolf Den tarp. I chose this tarp for this video because it is canvas. It is available in 2 different fabrics currently, a 300D Oxford silver lined in many different colors, and then this canvas model, which is a khaki color. The reason why I choose canvas: when you're out bushcrafting, generally you're going to have a fire to keep yourself warm, to light the area at nighttime, to cook, to boil water, all of that good stuff that you need to do. This canvas fabric works very, very well with open fires. Embers will hit it, sparks will hit it, it won't burn. It works very, very well. It is waterproof, and it is a thinner canvas. It's not that old World War II type canvas where it's really thick and heavy. This stuff does not absorb water. It doesn't take long to dry. It works very well. I've also chosen this particular shelter configuration being the plow point because it blocks the whole rear end of your shelter area. I'm out at a lake location right now. The wind's coming in this way, so I pitched it to block the wind. So ideally what I would do is I would put my fire right in front of the doorway, and then I'd have heat, cooking, protection, light, everything I need right at the doorway. Now, I have set this up today with 2 limbs. Ideally, what I would usually do, I wouldn't use these 2 limbs. I would tie my tarp directly to a tree. So I'd have a big tree in front. Now, obviously, that would kind of block the shot today for filming purposes. So I went with these 2 limbs just to show that you can pitch it in an area where there are no trees if you need to. So the plow point shelter and a canvas tarp is going to be my choice. Very simple, very cheap, very affordable and effective. You don't have to have this exact tarp. Like I said, if you have another canvas source, I would get it. I would use it. Don't worry about the weight. It's going to last. It's going to work in the winter time. It's going to work in the wind, the rain, the snow, the sun. It's going to work, and it's going to work for a very long time. All right, guys, so coming inside of the shelter, the second thing that I want to talk about is my bed roll. Okay, so this is a waxed canvas product that I made myself. It's actually a painter's drop cloth that I've doubled up and stitched along the end and along the sides to basically form an envelope. So you can crawl inside of this and get in like a sleeping bag. It is waterproof. Both sides are fully waxed, and there are brass grommets up top. So the reason why I put these up here is because I can stuff the inside of this. Remember, it's waterproof. I can stuff the inside with leaf litter, a whole bunch of leaves, pine, spruce duff, all this stuff down here, spruce boughs, whatever I can get inside of there, and then I can lash it shut with some cordage. And I could turn this into a very thick mattress. That's waterproof. It's great around fire because it's canvas, because remember, our fire is going to be out front. So our tarp's canvas, our bed roll is canvas. We can lay on top of this, or we can crawl inside of it. It's very cheap, very effective. It just takes a little bit of time to make, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But the second part to this canvas, which brings us to our third item, is a 100% wool blanket, okay? These are excellent to have. The reason, again, why I choose wool is because it's great around the fire. It's not going to burn holes as easy as synthetic fabrics. It's reliable. It keeps you warm even when it's soaking wet. It'll still keep you warm. Now with this particular wool blanket, I've actually stitched the end and the entire side to match my bedroll. So this wool blanket fits inside of the bedroll if I want to use this as a sleeping bag. If I have blowing rain, I can crawl on the side of here, go to sleep. Whatever rain hits this will not soak into my sleep system. Right now I'm actually kneeling on it. The ground is completely wet around here. It did rain yesterday, last night. So it is still wet. My knees are not getting wet. So this is a great sit pad. It's a great area to organize. You can do your gear layout if you're working on projects. It makes an excellent item to have. So I'm going to talk about some more of the items that we've got set up here on the stumps. Let's talk about tools and maintenance. All right, so talking about tools and maintenance, I want to start over here on this stump. I have a very small carving knife. Now, your choice of knife does not need to be expensive, okay? It doesn't have to be the top of the line knife. Don't go for the name brands. Just get a knife that's gonna work, okay? So I have 3 examples here for knives. I've got one on my hip. I've got a very thick custom made knife. This is 3/16 thick, very, very thick, very heavy knife. And I use this as my axe because you'll notice I do not have an axe with me. This video is geared around how to get started in bushcraft, and I feel that axes are very, very dangerous. If you do not have the skills to use an axe, you can easily cut your leg, your hand, your finger, your foot. Very dangerous. With this simple knife being a very thick knife, I could still use it as an axe. I'll just move some of these items out of the way. I can use it as an axe by batoning. So I simply take a piece of wood, another piece of wood, and by splitting that piece down the middle, I essentially have an axe. Now I also have a knife. If I need to make fine curls and shavings, I've got a knife. So the knife is a very, very multi-use item. Like I said, this guy is large and it is a thick knife. Put that there. I have another small knife, and I really enjoy this knife for really fine tasks. This knife comes in a Kydex sheath. It also has a little fire steel attached to it. So there's another great tool for out in the woods. And then I have another knife over here. This guy's also in a Kydex sheath with a fire steel. It's just a little bit larger, okay? So those are 3 great options. I really do like to see people with big, heavy knives. I wouldn't go ahead carrying more than 1 knife. I may take a small knife for doing really fine tasks, but I find the big knife with enough skill in using it, it can be used for all tasks, okay? Because remember, this is for beginner. We don't want to go dumping a bunch of money on expensive multi things. Get 1 knife that's going to work and stick with it because it will treat you very, very well. My sheath for this knife is attached to my hip. It's leather and it's on a dangler system. So it basically flops around, which makes it really easy for kneeling down, especially when you're in a tarp shelter like this. I can put my knife in my sheath and it's there when I need it. It's going to bend, it's going to go wherever I go, wherever I need it to go. Having a fixed knife on your hip, such as this one, may get in the way of crouching down and digging in your ribs and your stomach. So it can limit a little bit of movement, but that just shows a couple of items that you may want to get when bushcrafting. But like I said, I would stick with 1 really big honking knife to rule out the axe. Now, I do have a small hatchet down here. This guy. I don't know the brand of this because I've had it for probably over 10 years. It's actually a throwing hatchet. I just removed the wrap that was on there. I wrapped it with paracord. It is extremely sharp and I like it because I could choke up on it with my finger, and I got a nice little thumb well there. So if I do need to do some really intricate work, this thing will shave wood for days. It's also a great little chopper. So if I do need to chop, of course using caution of where your hands are, it works very well. And it comes with a little leather kind of axe mask that I made myself. And we're going to talk about crafting and making things because that's going to be the bread and butter of this craft, is making things. So that's some cutting tools right there out of the gate. The most expensive, I think, might have been this knife. Now this knife might run you $100, $150 depending where you are. I would go, like I said, with a big thick knife. This guy was custom made. They will cost a lot more, but you don't need name brands. Just get a good knife that's going to work. So continuing on with the tools, I do have a carving kit over here that I've covered in another video, a more recent video that I did actually. And it has all my crafting equipment basically that I would need to make lanterns, spoons, cups, whatever I need to make is in here. So we'll talk about some of the items. I basically carry chisels. So this is a really small flat grind chisel. These are all very, very sharp. Another flat grind, a little bit wider. I think that's about 10 mil, 1 centimeter. And this is a canvas roll, by the way. I can roll this up and it does tie. So it's a nice little compact roll. I carry a nice little hook chisel, another flat grind chisel. And then I carry 2 spoon chisels. One is more deeper of a spoon gouge. And these are excellent for making spoons, bowls, whatever you need to craft that you need that curve for. I also keep some sandpaper in here. This is a fabric backed sandpaper, not paper. It's very important because it's more durable. So this grit is 150. I use that for wood, for sanding down wood, for sanding down files or knives if I really do gouge them up bad on accident. You can bring back a profile using that. We'll stuff that into there for now. Now talking about sharpening, I do carry a piece of leather with some compound on there for honing a blade. The compound is also in here, a little container. So I can rub that on and then take my knife or my hatchet and strop it after I'm done using the honing stone. So this is a very small honing stone, works excellent for knives, chisels. Put some spit on there, put some water, hone your blade, and then strop it down to precise sharpness. Works really well. I then carry a very basic hook knife. This is, I think, $7 on Amazon. Very, very cheap. Very sharp, though. You learn how to sharpen these, they will be very, very sharp. And then lastly, I have a little pin vise with a 1/8 bit on there for drilling holes in wood. If I do need to drill a hole, I've got that. Very, very handy. This is aluminum, so it doesn't rust. That's important. That basically covers my small little crafting kit. Now, like I said, I do have a hatchet with me. I do have my hip on my belt. So I wouldn't necessarily take both unless I had a goal in mind that I wanted to carve something that required a hatchet. Generally, this knife for me will do everything. So it's nice to have one tool instead of 5 or 6 kicking around. So if I was specifically going to carve a spoon, I might even bring just this one chisel and I would wrap it in the leather and I'd throw some jute twine around there and I'd carry just this and then just my knife. So I don't have to bring the whole kit. It's all about what you plan on doing. Every trip I find has an objective in mind that you want to achieve or a goal that you want to achieve. So you don't have to bring everything. This is just items I want to show you to get started. So being on the tools and sharp edges brings us to gloves for safety. These are leather gloves. These work excellent around fire, cooking, hot objects, cutting, chopping, gathering wood, all kinds of stuff. They're very, very useful. I don't use them as much as I should, but I do use them and they are extremely valuable. So that is tools, cutting area. Now we move on to fire. My choice, I have 2 choices with fire. One is a big fire steel that I really enjoy taking with me. The other option is actually over here. In this tin, I carry flint and steel and char cloth. So start with the fire steel. The fire steel is a very, very valuable piece of kit that can be found very affordable. And I find if you do not know how to light fire with a fire steel, do not go outdoors, okay? This is the first thing that you should learn. Getting started in bushcraft, this is the very first skill that you should learn. So my knife has a 90-degree spine on it. It will throw sparks. Very, very good. Obviously be careful where you're throwing them, but it will throw sparks with just this knife. All of my knives, no matter what they are, I put on a grinder and put a 90-degree spine on it so they're very, very sharp. Fire steel being big, you can get a long stroke on it. Instead of flicking it, you can get a nice real deep gouge and it will light a fire, most likely first or second strike depending on your skill level. These don't care if they get wet, okay? The fire steel is not going to matter if it gets wet. It's not going to matter if you drop it. It's not going to break. They're very, very durable. Now this one obviously is fancy. It's got a wooden grip on it, handle. I like it. I like the aesthetics of it. This is my choice for fire most of the time, is a fire steel. Second choice I really enjoy is flint and steel. So what I have here is a tin that's actually for air rifles, just your lead pellets go in here. And I put a hole in the top of it. That's very important, because this is the container that I store my char cloth in. So this is all charred cloth. If you don't know how to make char cloth, the best way to do it is just take a cotton t-shirt that's not black. It's going to be black when it's finished, okay? So I recommend a white, a red, an orange, whatever. It has to be 100% cotton. Make little squares, drop it in the container, screw the lid on nice and tight, make sure that hole is clear of any debris. Place it on a heat source, over your fire, over a stove, whatever. It's going to spew out smoke. Don't breathe it in, it's not good for your health. When it's done smoking, take it off, let it cool completely. Do not open it. When it's cooled off completely that you could touch it with your hand, open it up, and you'll be left with charred cloth. What charred cloth is, so I'll show you. I also, like I said, carry my flint and steel. My steel is an old high carbon steel file, and my flint is a simple piece of flint. Now with this charred cloth, you can make this yourself. Take your striker. If I can get an ember to land on there with this wind. Oh, had one. And this method of fire lighting is probably my favorite. Whoop. So we've got an ember on that now. That put inside of some birch bark. Do this really quickly without lighting the forest on fire. Grab my wok. So that right there will start a fire very quickly. Now, like I said, I do recommend, of course it went out when I dropped it, I do recommend learning fire. Get that burned out. I do highly recommend learning your fire skills first. It's free. It basically is free. You can find flint all over the place, riverbeds. Check local areas. There are spots where you can find other high iron rocks that will spark with a high carbon piece of steel. It will work. Just gotta hit it, make a spark. Char cloth is very easy to make. Old t-shirt, recycle that fabric. Or, like I said, use the fire steel method. So we do have many different sizes of fire steels. You don't have to have a big one. You can have a medium-sized one. Like I said, the big one is easy to learn on, and it's very effective because you don't need to grind a whole lot off of it. You could just one long stroke and have your fire right away. So that real quickly covers our fire. And basically, I don't bring matches, I don't bring a lighter, none of that. Practice your fire steel, practice your flint and steel, and you will be golden. Golden for going out into the woods. All right, so we've covered fire, we've covered knives, we've covered edges, sharp tools. We also need to address the saw. The saw is a very, very important tool. This is a Boreal 21 saw. It is a folding flat pack saw. Very, very sharp, very effective. Snaps together just like that. This works really, really well. I highly recommend getting a pack saw that you can pack. I like the design of this. It packs down very small. It's very lightweight. It is extremely effective. So I do recommend getting a flat pack type saw. Again, it doesn't have to be that saw. It doesn't have to be any high name brand saws. You just need a good saw that's going to work. This will stack firewood very quickly. So that is very important to have. That basically wraps up cutting tools. So I want to talk about cordage and some of the crafting things that I've got over here. First, let's get this out of the way because this is just coffee. This is a nice little metal container that I like having. It's full of fresh ground coffee. If I needed to, I could punch a hole in there and make another charred cloth tin if I really needed to. But this is a great container for eating out of, for storing things in, for keeping coffee, and that's what I use it mainly for. There's so many options that you could do with a container. This is just a small one that I have with me. Talking about cordage. So I do have other cordage up here that I'll grab in just a second. My favorite type of cordage to bring is jute. Okay, so I've got 3 options here for jute. This is standard jute twine. This is jute twine separated. So this is actually a 4-strand jute twine. I've separated it into 2 strands, and then I've carved out a little bobbin that I made, and I wrapped probably about 40 or 50 feet of that on there. So smaller gauge of jute. And then I have this jute rope, which is really, really excellent for all kinds of things. You can use it for fire, you can use it for tying, you can use jute it's a really good option to have. For example, here I have it tied on the axe handle if I do need to light fire, and I'm in an area where I'm hard up for tinder, it's raining, it's wet, I do need to light a fire. I could take my knife and cut the handle off of this. Okay, I'm going to set that down off to the side. I could cut the handle off of that. So let's say this is off the handle, and then my knife back in there, and then you can work the fibers open. And this is like elementary stuff. This is basically where you should be starting to light your fires, is with jute twine. I teach my children how to do this. It's the first step to learn how to light fire, birch bark or jute twine. I like jute twine because it's available, it's easy, it boosts morale when learning. It's an excellent source to learn. So you work those fibers loose like that, you get a bird's nest. Okay, put that down. Fire steel or your flint and steel works really well. So jute twine has many uses. I like working with it because it's just so multi-use. Right next to it we have a candle. This candle has been worked quite a bit. We're going to talk about where, because obviously this is wax canvas, this is wax canvas as well. The candle is very, very useful in itself by using the wax. So if you do have tools, this one is stainless steel, so it's less likely to rust. This guy, however, is 01 tool steel, and it does corrode quite a bit, and we're going to talk more about that. But if you do carry an axe or tools like this, I do recommend bringing a maintenance kit. Now a candle can work for that by rubbing the wax into the tool and then putting it over a heat source and melting it in. It's also great for waxing, waterproofing canvas. So you rub that in, hold it over the heat source. It's also a light source, so you can light that, stick it in the ground, stick it on a holder, whatever. You've got a candle. There's many uses for a candle. So this one I've been using to wax canvas, which will bring us over to this stump with the wax canvas. I'm a huge fan of handmade items, and this right here is actually a project that I made myself in a recent video when I went out in a canvas hot tent, and I'm liking it. I really do enjoy it. So what I got inside is another cooking vessel, and let's talk about this first so I can get it out of the way here. So you've seen that I have my wok down there, and I'll grab that really quickly. This wok is 100% titanium. This is very, very expensive. I don't recommend starting out with a titanium wok because they are expensive. However, the wok is the jack of all trades. You can make coffee in this, you can make tea, you can use it as a frying pan, put a steak in there, you can use it as a soup bowl, you could do all kinds of things, collect forage items with it, you can wash stuff in there. So if I need to wash a shirt, hot water, wash it up. There's so many uses for this, and the reason why I picked titanium is because it's lightweight and it doesn't rust. That's the big thing with this wok. So I love this. It is probably my favorite cooking gear out of everything I have. I love this. Titanium wok, very, very good, also expensive. So if you've got the funds to get one, I do recommend it. It is good, but not for beginners. It's just too expensive. Bring us back to our kettle. Now, the kettle is a very, very useful item. You'll see this in a lot of bushcrafters kits. This particular kettle I've wrapped with this jute rope, so you can see I've already been crafting with it. And then I've wrapped the little handle here with the jute string. So a kettle will get you water. So you can hang this over top of the fire. You can make soup. You can make food in it. Although I don't like cooking food in the kettle because you can never really get it clean. I like cooking more in the wok. That way I can have my open food source. I can throw gravel in there, wash it out when I'm done, and hang it up and be done with it. So the kettle is very, very useful. These can be found on Amazon for like 10, 12 bucks. Very, very cheap. This one did come with silicone on the handle, but like I said, I cut it off and I replaced it with jute to add some aesthetics, and it also works better. So that's cooking. That's really all you need. You can cook steak over the fire on a stick. You can put a stick in the ground, cook that way. You can get a wok or a pan or a kettle, whatever you need. Just get one type of dish. That's what I like going for. The wok gives me everything in one, but it is expensive. The kettle is really, really useful as well, because like I said, I don't have to cook steak in here. I can put steak on a stick and cook it over the fire. I can make a spit. I can do whatever I need to do, but this gets me hot water. I can make tea, coffee, chaga, whatever you need to do. Kettle's an excellent source. Back to the canvas bag. This is what I made on a camping trip simply by rubbing this into the wax, putting it next to a wood stove that I had during this trip, or you could put it next to a fire, melt the wax in there, and it becomes very durable, very waterproof. I obviously don't need to worry about my kettle getting wet, but this is a multi-use bag. I could put tinder in here, I could put birch bark in here, keep it dry, food. The handle's made, or the string is made of jute twine, so again, another fire starter. You can hang it up in a tree as a bear bag, whatever you need to do with it. It's a wax canvas bag, so very, very useful to have. I enjoy making things in the woods. They're very rewarding. That canvas was offcut from my canvas bedroll that I'm kneeling on, so it's again using scraps. Now, sewing kit. I made this with this little sewing kit. The sewing kit is super, super inexpensive to make. This particular pouch I made out of a scrap piece of leather, same thing as this, and I have another pouch around here that I made a whole bunch of things out of scrap leather. So inside of my kit, I basically have a cork that I put 3 sewing needles in, if the camera picks that up. I do have thread and 1 needle already from crafting. I keep some jute twine in here, even though I always carry a bundle of jute twine. That jute twine actually goes to this big fat needle. So if I need to stitch something heavy duty, I will actually use jute twine, and it works really well. I also have a bobbin, which is currently empty because I made this and forgot to refill it. But here I made, basically carved a micro-sized version of this little bobbin. This I'll wind with thread. Now, right now I have an actual bobbin of thread, 2 of them in here. I will take that off, wind it over there, and that will give me a small, lightweight bobbin, and it's just fun to use. So that's a very, very simple sewing kit. Everything I need to sew, stitch, repair, build, craft, whatever. Everything's in this tiny little kit. Very lightweight, very easy to make. My other spice kit here, or my other leather pouch I should say, is a spice kit. This is another project that I made, very, very simple. Inside I have glass containers that I found at a local dollar store. You can get these on Amazon. I keep 5 spices, very easy, very aesthetically pleasing. I like the look of it, I like the feel of it, it's durable. I can put some compound on the inside of this and use that as a strop if I really like to multi-use it. But that's the deal with this. Very simple craft that was very affordable, and I keep some spices in there that I really like. So if you are carrying any kinds of like rice, I like carrying rice, pasta, some real simple foods. It's nice to spice that up because it can be quite bland. So coming over to the other final item on this stump, this is the maintenance kit that I carry. I carry steel wool in here to basically get all the gunk off my knife. This knife is quite dirty right now. So I'll use the steel wool to brush all that rust off. And then once I get it to a point where I'm happy, I'll then move to the other portion of this kit, which is a cotton t-shirt that I keep wrapped up another glass vial of olive oil. Very, very cheap, very affordable maintenance kit. You don't need to buy that name brand stuff. I know there's maintenance kits out there that even $14 is too much. You can grab some steel wool, a big box of the stuff for $4 or $5, and the glass vials I think come for $1 for 4, and then a little tiny draw bag, 50 cents. You got a whole maintenance kit that's gonna last a very long time. So that's my maintenance kit that I use on my hatchet, my knives, my axe, anything that I've got that I need to maintenance, I can maintenance with that. So let's talk about the bag, because we've got a backpack. We got to carry all this gear in. So let's talk about a pack. So as far as backpacks go, again, sticking with budget, it doesn't have to be name brand. This particular pack is Tactical Innovations. It was sent to me. It is Canadian made, so I'm very happy about that. This is a basic 35 I'd say 30 to 40 liters. 30 to 40 is a very, very good size to do your bushcrafting in. Now this particular pack will hold my tarp, my bedroll, my wool blanket, my kettle, everything that I need to go out and stay for 2-3 nights. It will fit inside of this bag, bushcraft style, okay? So this is a nice military pack. I like the military feel of it. It's very durable. It's got nice Cordura fabric. It has many options. Now this particular pack, I know some of you are probably still looking at this wok thinking, how are you gonna carry that in there? This particular pack, the reason why I chose this for this video, it has a helmet compartment. So that actually fits in there for like military helmets and whatnot, and pretend that the rest of the pack is full with all my gear. That fits in there nicely and it contours to the pack and the handle just sticks out. That's it. So I like this pack with my wok because it fits in there really nicely. You don't have to buy expensive gear. That's kind of the point that I'm trying to make. Yes, I do have some pieces here that are high dollar, but you don't need it. You don't need that. You just need a version of it. So this pack, I've found packs like this on Amazon, not this pack, but packs very similar to this for $30 Canadian, okay? This guy, I believe, retails for 149 Canadian, but you can find other packs that are affordable that will still work, okay? So that basically covers the backpack real quick, real simple. You just need something to put the gear in and carry it into the woods, okay? Containers. Now we did cover one container. I don't know what I did with it. Oh, it's down there. So we covered the little container of coffee. My container that I like to carry water in is just a simple aluminum bottle. Okay, this was a water bottle. It's got a blue cap. I took some sandpaper and removed all the paint. It's just a single wall aluminum bottle. Very simple. You don't really need anything else bigger than this to carry water in. Technically, this is, I think it's one liter, maybe 1 liter. You really don't need anything elaborate. When you're bushcrafting or you're out doing this type of stuff, generally you want to set up near water. So I'm at a lake right now. I can go down, fill this up, come back up, do whatever I need to do. I can take my wok down, I can take my kettle down, fill it up. If you're at a stream, fill it up. Generally, this will get you to the next spot. Okay, so if I do need a drink to move to the next spot to hike, this will suffice. This will work. So basic aluminum bottle. I don't use steel because I always have a kettle. I like aluminum because it won't rust on the outside, so you can leave it out in the rain. Works really well, and it's lightweight. Drinking. Now we all know the traditional cooksa. Excellent tool to have. I use this for not only hot drinks and coffee, but I also use it for food prep. If I'm cutting up peppers or food, I'll put it in here once it's all chopped up, and then I could transfer it into my wok, dump it out, go cook and whatnot. I've also used it for rice, so when I'm eating, I can use this as a bowl. Okay, I can also eat directly out of the wok, which I do very often. Works really well. So this is not just a cup, it's also a bowl. It's another container. It is wood, so it does insulate to a certain degree. You won't burn your hands on the side of it like you will with the titanium cup. It works really well. I like the aesthetics of it as well with the cooksa. It's traditional, really nice, very fitting to what bushcraft is. So that is another drinking container. What else do I got here? I do have some cordage up here. So moving back to the whole cordage, I choose 1.8 millimeter paracord. Don't know the brand, it's just 1.8 millimeter paracord. I believe the breaking strength of this stuff is 95 pounds, I believe. So I carry this. This is green. You can get it in many different colors. I like 1.8 millimeter because it ties very precise, fine knots. Right now I have a strand running down to the ground, holding it up, just one single strand. It's very lightweight. I carry a whole bunch of them on a little carabiner. I think I got about 8 of them in total here today with me. So very effective. I cut them at about 10 or 12 foot lengths, ready to go, and they have a little loop tied in them. That loop stays there. Melt the ends with some fire, you're good to go. Great source for guy lines, cordage, tying, lashing, whatever you need. Excellent source right there. I also have a shemagh up here. This guy has been with me for probably 8 years. I love this thing. These have so many uses. They open up very large. I often use this in wintertime. I'll wrap it around my neck while I'm hiking. Keeps me very warm. It's also a towel, so I can wash out my cooking dishes. I can lay it down and use it as an actual carrying vessel. So I can put a whole bunch of things inside of here. I can wrap it up, tie it to a stick like a hobo type style, carry it. You can use it as a bear bag, hike stuff up in the woods. You can use it as a pre-filter for water, char cloth, the list goes on. There's probably 1,000 uses for a shemagh. So these are excellent to have. I always bring one with me. They work very well. Very cheap as well. You get those for like $7 on Amazon and eBay. So I think that basically covers everything except for what's on my person. So wool hat. Wool is it's kind of my pick. I know it's heavy, it's bulky, it might be itchy, but it's warm, it's fire retardant, and it works when it's wet. So very cheap. This is a military cap that I got at a surplus store. I think it was like $5. Works really well. Continuing on with the wool, I've got my wool sweater. Now, every time I wear one of my big thick wool sweaters, I get asked probably 100 questions. Where is it? Where can I get it? This was a thrift store find, okay? This is a very, very old 100% wool hoodie that I found. I find a lot of them at thrift stores, and I love wearing these. It's heavy, very heavy, but this also works well around fire. It keeps me very warm. What I do with this at nighttime, I don't wear it to sleep. I actually fold it, and it's so thick that it works as a sleeping pad. So I actually use this as wearing and sitting and sleeping on top of. So having wool sweater is a very, very good, useful item. I prefer one with a hood. Obviously, you get a built-in hood, works really well. Pants, I don't go too crazy on pants. I just wear basic, you know, military kind of cargo style pants. Nothing too fantastic there. Boots, I'm actually wearing some Timberland Pro boots. These are construction boots. They're leather, they're waterproof, they're steel-toed. They have a composite plate in the bottom, so if I step on anything, it's not going to punch through. I will wear a heavy boot any day over a hiking boot. These have been with me for over 2 years. They're going very strong. Footwear is very, very important, and I don't cheap out on it. I go for a big, heavy, clunky boot that's going to last. So that was a lot to talk about. So now we're probably thinking, well, what do I start with? This is how to get started in bushcraft. I'm going to single out some items, place them on the backpack, and this is what I'm going to suggest you start with. A good backpack, 30 to 40 liters, okay? B, get my knife off here. B, I'm going to suggest a very durable, thick knife that you can baton with, you can chop with, you can cut with. Absolutely bring that. Gloves, some good leather gloves. Make sure they're good around fire. They're going to last a long time. Gloves. Cup. I'm going to recommend a cup. It can be whatever you want it to be as long as it's single wall. It's very important. If you bring a titanium single wall cup, you can put that over a heat source and you can boil water in it. The wooden cup you can't do that with, but I like the wooden cup because I generally have a kettle or a pan or some other sort of cooking vessel. So I'm going to say get yourself a cup. I like the Cooksa. They're very cheap, very affordable, very easy to find on Amazon and eBay. I'm going to say the Cooksa. Fire steel, absolute must. I would start with the fire steel before flint and steel. Either option, fire steel is going with me. I got that. What else am I going to bring? I'm going to bring my aluminum bottle. Absolutely need to carry water. What else? My saw. I am going to bring my saw. I typically carry this in my hand because when I'm out hiking with a small pack anyways, it doesn't fit inside of the pack. Now I did make, I don't think I have it. Oh, I do. Look at that. I do got it. I did make a waxed canvas bag for my saw. So this just slides right in there. I haven't put the snap on it yet, but I got a waxed canvas bag for my saw. So now when I'm hiking, I don't have to worry about it getting wet and the blade rusting. So again, saw is going with me. Absolutely vital. What else do I need? Cordage. I'm going to take cordage, either jute string or jute rope. This is twine and rope, sorry. I'll probably take them both, to be honest. I mean, it's such a universal item. I'll take both. Jute. Now, I'm also going to take my kettle. I'm going to choose the kettle for starting out because, like I said, these are very expensive. They're also large. They're also not really needed by everybody, okay? We can cook a steak on a rock over the fire. We can cook a steak on a stick. We can do it on a spit. We can do all that. The kettle is going to boil your water very nicely. You can do food in here. Very cheap, very affordable kettle. I've also got my handmade bag that it's going to go inside of. So I'm going to bring that as well because I do have it and I'm going to use it. Very affordable. What else am I going to bring? I am going to bring my wax candle. Absolutely going to bring it because there's so many uses with it. I'm going to bring it. My sewing kit. Sewing kit costs a couple dollars to make. I mean, honestly, you don't even have to have a leather bag. You could use whatever bag you want. You can make your own wax canvas bag, put it in a Ziploc bag. Sewing kit, a couple needles, thread, very, very cheap, very inexpensive, very easy to carry. Cordage, we do have the jute. That is a cordage method, but I'm also going to bring some high strength cordage. Like I said, 95-pound breaking strength of this 1.8 millimeter paracord. I'm going to bring it because I'm going to use it for tarp setups. That's going to last longer than the jute. Okay, so this is strong. The jute eventually will break down. What else am I going to bring? I've got my knife, I've got my saw, I've got my cordage. I'm going to bring my wool blanket. Talk about sleep system. I am going to pack a wool blanket. I will recommend that, absolutely. Now, talking about the wool blanket, I'm not saying this wool blanket is going to keep you warm minus 20, because it's not. I promise you it's not. The purpose of the wool blanket is to keep you warm, yes, but it's to get close to the fire, because we're going to have our fire right here, right? So this wool blanket, you can snuggle up to that fire, and if any embers pop and land on you, remember, we're going to be wearing wool. So I am going to also bring my wool sweater, which I'm going to be wearing. I would recommend a wool sweater. But if I'm sleeping on top of this, and I'm in my wax canvas bedroll, that will burn, but it's not going to burn fast. If an ember lands on top of it and sits there for 10 minutes, it'll burn a hole. If I've got this on top or inside or however configuration I got, because I am also going to bring a sleeping pad type thing, a sheet, I should say, a ground sheet. I will add this to the kit as well. But this wax canvas, toss that out with a wool blanket, perfect. You're golden. Doesn't have to be wax canvas either. You can use a plastic sheet, you can use a tarp, but like I said, this has excellent fire properties. It's very durable. It's going to stop any sticks from poking up into your back. Works great. We can make a mattress out of it. The wool blanket and that's my kind of warmth, my sleep system, going along with what I'm wearing. The final item, if I'm not forgetting anything, the final item is going to be the tarp. I'm going to pack a tarp. A 10 by 10 tarp works really well. You can use a 10 by 7, a 5 by 5 if you need something small, but I like the 10 by 10. You can see I can stand up under there. You can set it up many different configurations. You can fold it in half and make a ground sheet out of one and possibly leave that home. There's so many options with a tarp. So that's what I'm going to recommend for getting started with bushcraft. Any brand, I highly recommend making your own gear. It's really rewarding and it's aesthetically pleasing. I mean, this has so much patina built into it. I slept out the other night in this and it was pouring with rain on the same type of leaves and it stained it kind of tea color. So that to me, I really do enjoy that when the gear kind of gets messed up. It kind of gets dirty, it gets roughed up. Like the kettle, it's covered in char and black. I like that. I like the aesthetics of it. The wax canvas bag, it's rugged, it's raw. I like that. The titanium, I really like just the patina, the way things look when you're bushcrafting. It doesn't have to be prim and proper and pristine. Use your gear. It is a tool, use it. So that right there is what I'm going to recommend for getting started in bushcraft. From there, you can expand into crafting tools. You can expand into maintenance kits because we can make a maintenance kit and bring it with us. We've got the candle. This basically is a maintenance kit. It'll help you keep rust from forming on top of your stuff. But that right there is a basic kit. I live in Canada, Nova Scotia. And here in Canada, we do get cold temperatures. Here in Nova Scotia, we do get cold temperatures with snow, winter. This is what I would use all year round, whether it's summer, winter. I don't have to use this in the summer. I can lay on top of it. I can crawl inside of this, whatever. That's my basic kit right there that I will recommend to you guys for getting started in. So I really do hope that this was helpful to you guys. I know it's a lot of information, but I believe this will get anybody started in bushcrafting very affordable. You don't need to go for brand names. I'm going to say that again. You do not need to go for brand names. Don't. I actually encourage you and challenge you to not go for brand names. Go on Amazon, find the cheapest things that will work. That's what's going to get you outdoors. Because like I said, the saw, this is an excellent saw. It's an excellent pack saw. But with my knife and with some cordage, I can make a saw frame and just buy a blade. And then I can make a pack down bow saw, right? So that's the beauty of bushcraft. It's not about getting out and having the gear to do things with. It's about the adventure to get out and learn how to be self-reliant and learn how to do these activities and have fun doing it. So I hope this was helpful. If you guys have any questions and suggestions, I'd love to hear about it. Drop it down in the comment section. And I hope this was helpful, and I hope that some of you out there that are trying to get into bushcraft learn some things here. And the most important thing is stay safe. I didn't cover a medical kit because the only thing that I personally bring medical kit is just band-aids. I'll bring a couple band-aids. Everything in the crafting kit plus your clothing, you can make tourniquet, you can make bandages. That's a whole different video. But that right there should get you started. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.